But first tonight, we're now 72 hours into Operation Epic Fury. 49 key figures in the Iranian leadership have been killed. 11 Iranian vessels in the Gulf of Oman have been destroyed. As Trump said, they're now at the bottom of the ocean. America's B-1 bombers have hit Iran's ballistic missile capabilities, aimed at destroying their military stockpile. And these are 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. And the US has announced that America and Israel now control the Iranian airspace, even removing the Russian and Chinese air defences.
The combined impact of these strikes, swift, precise, and overwhelming, has resulted in the establishment of local air superiority. This air superiority will not only enhance the protection of our forces, but also allow them to continue the work over Iran.
This is highly significant. Iran is getting more vulnerable by the day, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio warns the military action is just getting started.
Again, I'm not going to give away the details of our tactical efforts, but the hardest hits are yet to come from the U.S. military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Someone was screaming, how long will it take? I don't know how long it'll take. We have objectives. We will do this as long as it takes to achieve those objectives, and we will achieve those objectives. The world will be a safer place when we're done with this operation.
Really strong comments. We're also waiting to see how some of the Arab nations will act. Qatar has effectively sided with the American-Israeli campaign against Iran, because it shot down 2 Iranian fighter aircraft, 7 ballistic missiles and 5 drones. Qatar had been harbouring Hamas leadership for years, helping to fund radical Islamic terror. So for them now to take this action is significant. Most of the Arab Gulf nations have reserved their right to respond after provocative Iranian missile and drone attacks. And so far, we've seen defensive, but not offensive military action from these Muslim-majority nations against Iran. The US Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was hit by Iran, and a base used by Australian forces near Dubai was also struck. And thankfully, no one was injured in either attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke to the Western media for the first time today. He indicated to Fox News, to Sean Hannity, that the Arab world were grateful to him and Donald Trump for taking on Iran.
Yeah, well, I think Saudi Arabia will have a lot to gain. I think all these countries around Iran are threatened by Iran. I think they want to see this regime go down, even if they don't publicly say that. They've just been targeted by Iran. So obviously, if Iran is removed, that's a great boon to Saudi Arabia, a great boon to these other countries. And I think peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia would be really possible and probably very close once this thing happens. So this is a gateway for peace, for a broader peace, and I believe that we can achieve it.
Now, there's been some concern, unfounded concern in my view, that Trump could succumb to pressure from the MAGA movement and stop the war too soon before the objectives are achieved. But the president said today he was in it, whatever it takes.
We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
And as you heard there, he has predicted it would be a relatively quick war, perhaps 4 or so weeks, certainly not years. Vice President J.D. Vance has been noticeably silent since the war began, and questions were starting to arise over whether he supported the military action or whether he was pandering to figures on the extreme right like Tucker Carlson who are against it. But then the Vice President came out today in support of President Trump and the strikes. And he explained that Trump wants to destroy Iran's future ability to build a nuclear weapon.
He wanted to make sure that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon, and that would require fundamentally a change in mindset from the Iranian regime. So he saw that the Iranian regime was weakened. He knew that they were committed to getting on that brink of a nuclear weapon, and he decided to take action because he felt that was necessary in order to protect the nation's security.
The US is keeping the option of troops on the ground open. But J.D. Vance differentiated from the so-called forever wars of Iraq and Afghanistan to Operation Epic Fury in Iran.
What is different about President Trump, and it's frankly different about both Republicans and Democrats of the past, is that he's not going to let his country go to war unless there's a clearly defined objective. And I think that means that we're not going to get into the problems that we've had with Iraq and Afghanistan.
And he called out the false narrative from Iranian leaders, claiming their enrichment was only for civilian purposes. He clearly explained that they hadn't given up their ambition of a weapon. The vice president said that while a stable Iran was preferred, he claimed America's military objective was just to destroy its nuclear capabilities, not regime change. Yet both President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and certainly Iranians, are hoping for a new leader, one who isn't an extremist Islamic hardliner. The death of Khamenei is significant, and his lineup of successors are expected to be killed by the day. But it's only with new leadership that Iran's new era can begin. And this is essential, of course, for the country, but even more importantly for global peace, given the tentacles of Iran's reign of terror have reached as far as here in Australia, where firebombings and terror attacks were directed by the IRGC. Given how Israel and America have already reshaped the region over the past 2.5 years, there's great hope now that the same will unfold in Iran.